good. Doing pretty good. The campaign is going really well so far. Uh, so that's exciting. Uh, and it's just been a lot of work and having a kind of it's kind of like a little bit out of my hands now and more in the hands of like Josh and Chaco,
Uh-huh.
and so that's kind of nice.
So what's your part in this? Like you created 3 weeks ago,
So
and
yeah, so we basically 3 weeks ago, we came to the like we knew about 4 weeks ago that like something was going to have to happen, and we didn't really know what because it was going to be really hard to sell arcade machines, during the coronavirus, and
yes.
I mean, social distancing and bars are having a hard enough this and blah blah blah. So we had a lot of debates about what we were going to do with the people who work for us, and like who's going to be calling support if nobody's in an arcade to play a game, right, or stuff like
Right.
that. And so our options were to either let everyone go or do something drastic, and the something drastic was basically, well, why don't we try to create a game for people to play during this time, and give our players an opportunity to like a kind of help us out and support us, and also give back to them in the sense that like we're creating a game that they can like, kind of practice their killer queen skills, uh even though they can't actually play killer queen. So that was kind of the basic idea that we had, and we pitched it to the team, and um and people seemed pretty enthusiastic about it. So we went ahead and started working on it. We're about a week late with the Kickstarter itself. We wanted to kind of launch it last Tuesday, but we also realized that like Kickstarters are kind of tricky, and if you don't come off very strong, it's better not to. It's better to delay a launch than to have something that's a more half baked. And the game itself started coming together pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Um, so that was helpful that we were able to get you know a feel for what it was we were pitching pretty quickly, and it's just been like a lot of um, a lot of crafting the message, and creating a game like in a really really condensed amount of. So
Yeah, and
needless
I,
to
I
say, we've
watched I
all
watched your
been
video
burning
on it. It's
burning the
it's using
campaign.
assets from Killer Queen, right? Hello?
Hello.
It's using assets from Killer Queen, correct?
No. You're,
I think the video cut out on us.
well, can you if you can still hear me?
I can hear you.
Don't know if you can.
Let's see here. The wonders of remote technology all the way. That's what all we have anymore. Here, I'm gonna go back to voice chat. Maybe we'll have it more stable there. Try and call him again. No, no, no. He's not ignoring me or being very still. So I watched their little while we reconnect with him. I watched their intro video, and basically, um, they've created a game with the art assets from Killer Queen because Killer Queen can't be played right now. And they're kickstarting it right now, and it looks like they're going to pretty easily meet their Kickstarter um, goal of $33,000. It's Abs versus the Blood Queen. There will be an arcade release in the future, but obviously right now it's more focused on what they can do right now. I posted a link to their Kickstarter in the site. It'll be a single player game. Got all kinds of messages flying at me now. This is fun. Again, I do suspect it will reach their goal pretty darn quickly. They are the makers of Killer Queen Bumblebear. That's an incredible game. They put out Killer Queen Black as well for consoles. That's done fine. And you know, I've already pledged my support. I got in on the $25 pledge and gonna get I believe the reward for that is an in-game graffiti. So I'm all about it. I'm sure they'll bring it to life as they have brought in several games to life so far. And we're big fans of Killer Queen at Free Play. We have 4 of their cabinets, maybe 5 now. 4 and a 5th one on order, something like that. I'm not too worried with Kickstarter horror stories. You know, this is a major group here, a major company who is obviously working to keep their employees employed during this COVID crisis. So I'm not worried about it. This is $25 that I pledged that I feel is just fine, just fine. They can go do what they need to do with it. Nikita, where'd you go? Oh, there he is, coming back online. We'll try the call, see if it works.
Oh, hey. Can you
Hey,
hear
there
me?
we go. Hey, we see you. You're animated and stuff.
Was it on my end or was it on your end?
Hard to say. My internet's very strong, so somewhere in the connection. Don't know what to say. But
Okay, I rebooted my router, so that seemed to.
you seem much clearer now.
Oh, great.
So yeah, this is Nikita of Bumblebear Games, and we are talking about his new game, Abs versus the Blood Queen. I put the Kickstarter link in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're doing quite well on your Kickstarter. I would be stunned if it doesn't get kickstarted very shortly. You're over halfway to your goal. I myself have contributed. Again, the link is there. What type of game is this? It's using assets from Killer Queen, but what type of game would it be?
So it's kind of a cross between a Mario style platformer and an endless runner. There's there's this horde of like zombie warriors that are chasing you during the game, so it puts a lot of time pressure on the player.
Uh-huh.
And it's definitely one of those really good speedrunner games, and also it's the levels themselves are dynamically generated. So we're hoping that there's going to be a lot of replay value to the game. And so I think for people who are new to Killer Queen or don't know anything about it, it's a fun game, and we're 3 weeks into development, and like I, most of the people, like the three of us can't stop playing it. So I
Okay,
think
that's a good
that's a
sign.
pretty good sign. Yeah, it's a good sign. And I think as we flesh it out more, um, the game's really just going to get much stronger. And we're hoping to do like a lot of different sections to the game to kind of break up the play, so that like you can go into secret rooms, and then there be like a mini boss battle there or whatever. And
Mhm.
like we're exploring different ideas of how to change up the texture while you're playing, so that it always feels fresh and new. Um,
Did you say the levels will
and
be procedurally generated?
oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So there'll be big
Uh,
benchmarks and just secrets along the way that are also procedurally generated.
yeah, yeah. So like, I mean, ideally, it would be fun that like no boss battle ever feels the same as the last one, but
Oh wow,
that's a lot of work.
that is a
So
lot.
we'll see how that goes. But um, but yeah, I mean, we have a vision for like how we want the game to kind of map out. Um, and we're all pretty big fans of roguelikes, and Josh in particular is like a Spelunky fanatic. So
Mhm.
a lot of our conversations have revolved around different roguelikes over the years, and then how do we integrate like the stuff that we're doing with Killer Queen into that world, and also like looking at a lot of like endless runners and seeing like what we can borrow from that genre that felt right without it feeling cheap.
Mhm.
um, and and so far I think we've come up with something that's pretty interesting. um, and it seems like people are responding, so we're really excited about
Well, I
that.
mean, I'm happy to support a project from the creators of Killer Queen, a game that's given me so much love in the arcade. We're fighting to save free play ourselves because arcades are all shut down. It is
Mhm.
very very frustrating. I don't even know what the path back is to play Killer Queen because we have to be huddled so close together. I want to play. I really want to play. Are you bringing the physics of Killer Queen along in this game as well? You said
Oh
practicing.
yeah, yeah. So basically, I mean, what I was saying before I got cut off was that like the original idea was to offer the original idea was like, hey, why don't we make a game for Killer Queen players to play now, like now that they're all quarantined, so that they can kind of hone their skills, right?
Hmm.
So it was going to be more of a like, I don't know, like doing drills,
Right.
and so the like we internally were like, well, okay, that's interesting, but like how many hardcore Killer Queen players are there that are just going to want to like buy this game that you just do drills? Like we're going to need some more content here, and something that appeals to like a broader audience than just the hardcore Killer Queen players. But so it's a balancing act, right? Like getting all of those like all your tapping skills in and all that stuff, while also creating a world that feels of Killer Queen, but
Hmm.
also new and exciting. And so that's been fun. That's been really interesting. Like how do we make something that's just doesn't feel like we're doing math drills,
Hmm.
and yet you're getting your chops up at the same time.
Yeah,
So
just looking at the video, it looks like you guys have nailed it. It definitely feels like Killer Queen and like the Halloween edition of Killer Queen, I guess. You got the zombies
yeah,
chasing you.
yeah.
I
I mean, the zombie idea came out of, well, we don't want to build a whole AI around this, and that's not so important anyway. But then like the guys are just standing there half the time, or like going up and down, or like going in like a pattern or whatever. And Gyro, one of our developers, was like, we were trying to think of like, well, why is that? Or are they robots, kind of like the Bumblebot or whatever? Um, and then Gyro was like, well, what if they were undead? And then we kind of started thinking about that, and I started doing some concept sketches of what that would look like, and um, and it just seemed like a really fertile ground for us to come up with new enemies and new obstacles and new content that with the undead soldiers being like the gateway to that.
Just responding to some of the chat, you already said that there would be a speed run timer mode, like that's part of the idea.
I mean, the whole thing is kind of a speed. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's like there's something chasing you at all times. So
Mm.
there's no like just hanging out. When you like our idea right now is that when you go into secret rooms, you get a little bit of a break from that. But then like depending on what the secret room is, it could just be like filled with ladybugs, or maybe a boss battle, or maybe whatever. We're still exploring what that's.
We're already having requests for checkers to be DLC.
I think that you will all be very happy to know that you will be able to unlock all the standard Killer Queen characters, and we may actually be doing some new ones too.
Excellent. Let me post the link once again to your Kickstarter in the chat for everybody who just joined us. But there's several levels of rewards. Did you want to talk about the Kickstarter itself at all?
I guess sure, why not? So we have a couple of different levels of rewards. You can buy the game for $14, and depending on what if we reach our first stretch goal, which is I think 55,000, you can either get a Steam key or a Switch key. The Switch version will unfortunately come later, just because there's going to be a little bit more. It's a little bit more involved to release on Switch than Steam. And then the next tier up, I think, is $25, which gives you the key, and then you send us a short phrase, and we're going to put it into our graffiti engine, and basically your phrase can and will show up in random spots in the game. So depending on how many people back that level, is going to be that's the odds of your message showing up in any particular run.
Gotcha, because it'll all be procedurally generated, so procedurally generated graffiti messages.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll have like a pool of graffiti messages, and it's all text. So we'll have a pool of graffiti messages, and there'll be like spots where they can show up, and so hopefully you'll get to see your message.
That sounds cool. I see some of the later like Kickstarter things mention arcade cabinets. I guess you guys still have arcade on the mind, ultimately.
Yeah. So we started talking about. So then, like, we have a couple of other rewards. You can get a marquee. You can get a poster. And then we started talking about, well, what about a fight stick that people like? If people are honing their Killer Queen skills, what if we make a fight stick that has like, the standard issue Killer Queen equipment in it, which is Sumitsu LS32 stick, and like standard half button, and like the Omron switch, blah blah blah. So like we wanted to match the hardware of the Killer Queen cabinet in this fight stick, and then so that became an option. And then we're like, well, I mean, if we're going to do a fight stick, what if we actually did an arcade game? And what if, like, when you went to the arcade, like while you were waiting to play Killer Queen, you could play this game? And it seems like it's a good pairing. And it's kind of a first for us, because we've been very, very hesitant to have any content that is available on anything but arcade as an arcade game.
Right.
So we're going to see how it goes. Switch and Shoot seems to be doing a pretty good job of that. And, just trying it out. and seeing how it goes. And so far, some people have reached to us outside of Kickstarter who don't want to go through Kickstarter to like, you know, buy a cabinet too. So it's actually like I think that might be a healthy part of the whole campaign.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear you guys are still supporting the arcades even when we're all stuck at
Oh yeah.
home. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean we're in it because we love arcades and we want to make content for arcades, and we feel like there's not a lot of people who are doing serious new game design for arcades, and like, you know, we want to change that. We want more people doing that kind of thing, and you know, arcades are definitely making a comeback, so
Sure
hopefully.
trying.
I mean, I know it's tough. I
Th th
know,
th
and like,
at this point, like this has been a demoralizing couple of months for us all. I
I'm
think
sure.
like and especially as a Killer Queen player, especially like I do foresee a chance for me to go back and play Joust and well, single player Joust and single player Mario Brothers, but I don't. I really want to tap the buttons again so badly. So I'm glad you guys are thinking of us. I don't know. I can't wait to play this game. That's interesting about the fight stick. I never considered actually like reassembling the buttons to my joystick with a actual Killer Queen setup. Mostly just hear
Yeah,
Arthur telling
yeah.
me
I
about
mean,
buttons.
yeah. I definitely want one. Honestly, I mean, it looks pretty good.
Hmm.
Uh, I'll definitely want one. But I think, yeah. I mean, it was really brutal. Like the first, like I'd gone on vacation to California. I'd actually gone on a cruise, and
Hmm.
like this was the beginning of March, and you know, when you're on a cruise, you don't get a lot of news. And when I left, it was like, yeah, the Corona thing was like may be a thing, but it like nobody was really talking about it the way that people are talking about it now.
Right.
And I got off the ship, and they wouldn't even let us off the ship. Like we were in quarantine for a day because a passenger had gotten sick. I mean, luckily they did not contract the virus, but
Yeah, you
the
might still be
CDC
on it
wanted
at
to
that
be.
point.
Yeah, the CDC, you know, wanted to know for sure, so they tested him, and we had to wait like a day, and we thought that was, you know, I was fine with it, you know, but I was with my mom, and she was like, "I just want to get off the boat," thing, you know. She's like an old lady, and she had gotten tired of being on the boat,
What
and
what's it been like being in New
and
York through this period?
yeah, so basically, so then I went to San Francisco for a week or so, and then I got out right before they locked the city down, and then I got back to New York, and I mean that subway ride from the from the airport to my apartment was it was like Day of the Dead. I mean, it was crazy. There was just like, I mean, mind you, it was also like you know, a red eye, so it was 5 in the morning, but still, it felt really like it kind of shook me, and it made me feel like, okay, this thing is really real. And so you know, we like got back, and like we knew it was going to impact us, and me and Josh were having conversations, and we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to like figure out what we're going to do as a company, and like how are we going to pay our people, and you know, all this stuff, and like what's going to happen to our customers. And you know, we just like it just became very overwhelming very quickly, and just like everybody else. And I know you guys are experiencing the same thing as is everybody
Hmm.
who is in any kind of like live entertainment or bars or whatever. It's just like a really brutal time. So
Yeah, basically everybody in the service industry everywhere got laid off all on within that week. Yeah, it was
yeah,
as
yeah,
bad as it could
and
possibly be in that facet.
yeah, and I know that like a lot of the places that, you know, my local watering hole and whatever. I mean, I don't know if they're going to come back once this is over. You know, it's just really. I know it's going to be hard. You know, like especially in New York where it's already so hard to like stay in business. I mean,
Hmm.
only 10% of new new businesses, like new service businesses actually succeed in New York. They almost all go out of business within a year. Um, so like I can't even imagine what people are going through right now. And yeah, so all that
I
became
think
really.
we're going to open back up because they're opening up parts of Texas' economy. We're not phase
Mhm.
one arcades, but we possibly will be phase two. So I do think that free play will open again. We've had a lot of help from our community, but yeah, it's in particular frustration when it comes to Killer Queen because that's one of the benchmark games of any arcade these days. It's been a huge success, and we're all standing arm in arm, and I don't. Ah, my
Yeah,
goodness.
I
Will
know, I
this
know.
help out Bumblebear? Because we want you guys on the other side as well. We want you guys making games. At some point we can be arm in arm playing arcade games again. I would have to assume, and I want to.
I hope so.
Like,
Yeah.
cause part of the closeness of Killer Queen, while not ideal for this time, is absolutely part of the charm. I love getting to know the people around me and getting to meet people and getting to play against you in Austin. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like I've had so many like personal texts in the last couple of weeks, like from players or whatever, who are like, "How are you? How are you feeling? How are you holding up? Whatever." And it's just been really nice to see like you know Napalm did the thing where he was selling the Toxicats, and like he raised a lot of money for players who had lost their jobs thanks to
Mhm.
COVID. I mean, it really you really get a sense of that. Yes, we are a real community, even though like especially the hardcore players, they are very competitive, but I think that they also understand that like we are like a bigger community than just it's not just about the game. It's also about the camaraderie and about getting to know each other and traveling and meeting people in different places and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, playing Killer
Um,
Queen is such a social experience that even if you are super hardcore about it, like part of it is forming like team building dynamics really. Like you're stuck together and you got to work on a team and you cannot do it by yourself. And for me the first thing that happens when someone took away the arcade, which is one of my main coping mechanisms, is going to the arcade and playing some games. The next thing I
yep,
want to do is be with all my friends. And that's sort of like the secondary insidious thing about this whole thing is just like, nope, you have to be as far away as possible from your teammates. You can't practice. So I will be practicing in Abs versus the Blood Queen the moment I can because
I hope so. I hope
yeah.
so.
No,
Yeah.
I'll stream it right here, like happily.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. That is great. Yeah. So I don't know. It was a little tough, right? Like getting back, being in New York, like the reality of being in New York, like and being in a hotspot and whatever. Like it hit me, and then like what are we gonna do? And then we came up with this idea about 3 weeks ago. So like everything that you see, like, is pretty new,
Mhm.
and like it's not like we had this kind of in our back pocket waiting to happen. We like all this like we really came together. Like what I was about to say was I felt like we really came together as a team to kind of make this happen. Like everybody made it like a priority, and we've all been super long hours to like get it get it to be a go. And I think it shows. I think it shows. I think the game is looking good so far, even though it's pretty early into the project. And yeah, I hope everybody enjoys it. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think I think they will. I mean, I do. So
Yeah.
I hope they do.
It looks like a good concept and it already looks great. So I'm very excited about it. I imagine it's been exciting. I don't know, getting to do a project with everybody in this time because like I've been streaming basically 24/7 since they shut down the arcades, and that's been
That must be so
my getaway.
hard.
What's that?
That must be so
It
hard.
is. Yes, it is. I can't tell you how hard it is. And much like you are talking about everybody coming together and building this thing around it in 3 weeks. Like it's very much like that. I can't do it all myself. Remote producers, was not prepared to produce this. Had an empty room in my house because I had a VR set up, and then suddenly, boom, there's a studio in my house and a green screen, and there's art coming in from different directions, and I can't handle it, and they're running my computer. So it's harder than I can say, but it's also been one of the few things I can latch onto as a coping mechanism, because this is the community of the arcade. Like, here we are. We're all in the chat right now talking about Killer Queen. Heck, even you. I've met you at Texas Gamers Lounge in Austin. Like, this seeing your
Yeah, that
face.
was a good time.
Yeah, seeing your face, seeing everybody, hearing from everybody on stream, playing through games, talking to other developers. It's been a lot of fun. That's not the word for it. It's been helpful in coping and keeping like sane throughout this entire period. So I could imagine being on a new project with all the guys helps.
Yeah, yeah, and like even like there were plenty of like 14-hour work days, honestly, and like I feel like it felt really good to like focus on one project. And like normally like our work week, it's like I have to like do a lot of management stuff, and like it's a little bit different, and we have a lot of different projects going on, and then there's just running the business, like getting machines out the door, and like whatever. And so it's been nice to be able to like focus on one project and be creative, and so it's kind of kept me a little bit sane, as opposed to you know, just I don't know what I'd be doing if I wasn't doing this. I would probably just be going totally bananas.
I know exactly what you mean. I feel like I'm going bananas anyway, but like less quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I do think. I mean, I hope that the worst is behind us. Honestly, I feel like at least in New York,
I would think so.
yeah, I think we reached our peak, and I think like I'm really hoping that like things are going to start relaxing a little bit, and like hopefully by June like everything will be back to not normal, but close to normal. I mean, maybe that's just wishful thinking on my
I
part, but
You know what? I'm just gonna take it one Killer Queen game at a time, and right now I'm looking to get my next Killer Queen game in. That's sort of the thing.
so what else are you doing? Are you playing a lot of games?
A lot. Well, today Streets of Rage 4 came out, so I'm playing that one. It's a beat 'em up. It's has an
Mm-hmm.
arcade feel to it. We have a super gun here. I have the ability to play basically every CPS2 game, every Neo Geo game, in super gun form, not in arcade form. But more than that, like I think it's not compelling to watch me play a game over and over again. So we've been doing things like getting the entire community together to play single player games side by side. Like we played Super Mario. I'm sorry, we played Sonic the Hedgehog last night all the way through. And then we've been setting up things like the free play arcade game show, the Jeopardy game, where that's on Mondays. Josh has been writing out a full like Jeopardy, Double Jeopardy, Final Jeopardy, the full thing. He's been hosting it. That's been a lot of fun. We've gotten the producers have been going at it like constantly because they're all in the same boat where they can't do anything, and they've been so helpful. One of the writers of Trivia Murder Party, the Jackbox game, is here in town. He did an article about us in the Dallas Observer in a local newspaper.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yes. And he's the one who is writing and hosting the live match game, which is, his version of the 70s match game that I've invited you to be a part of.
Yes, I hear I'm in the Charles Nelson Riley spot. Is that right?
Yes. We'd be happy to have you there.
That's awesome. That is. I have to get some big glasses and stuff. It'll be great.
The reason I know you belong in that spot is because you know who Charles Nelson Riley is.
Yeah.
I've been
I
watching
think I'm
old episodes as training, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing about Charles Nelson Riley. He's like one of this kind of group of celebrities that after a while was just a celebrity just from being on game shows.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, him and Richard Dawson, who went on to host, I guess. But And Betty White has
Yeah.
transversed it. But those are the three panelists I think of when I think of the match game from the 70s.
Yeah, Phyllis Diller, Paul Lynde, like they all became more famous from doing game shows than like their actual acts, which is kind of
Yes.
hilarious.
Yeah, I straight up don't know what they are famous. I don't even know. Was Charles Nelson Riley a comic? I don't even know.
He was, and so was Paul Lynde actually. And
Uh-huh.
Paul Lynde was on Bewitched a lot. He, I don't remember what show Charles Nelson Riley was on, but he was on a show too. Yeah, I don't. They were all kind of like on shows, and they had, I guess they were stand-ups, but I mean,
Yeah, that
whatever.
makes
I
sense.
know them just from being a kid and watching them on like Hollywood Squares and Match Game.
Hmm. And that's what we've been doing. We have stand up. We had Paul Verghese was one of our stand up comedians who was a panelist last week. I don't know who this week is. That's been another trip, is reaching out to all the kinds of like celebrities or people that I want to hear from on Twitter, and just sort of getting everybody together and trying to explain what the match game is. You actually knew, which was
Yeah,
that's
yeah. I
cool.
mean, I'm just of that generation of people that like you could do the Gong Show. The Gong Show would be amazing.
Man, yeah. I feel like I'm on the Gong Show right now permanently, and I just keep smashing the gong on myself, and it doesn't work. I can't get this guy off the center of the screen.
Is a giant hook gonna come in and like take you away or whatever?
If I have control over it, yes. It's been so weird. And then like we have, so I'm the one in the remote game studio, so I'm the one who like has to be on camera because we have a camera here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just me, one panelist in the corner. I'm like, I can't deal with just looking at myself all this time. I really want to look at really anybody but me. But it's Cry Me a River. I'm glad I have something to do.
Yeah, no,
I'm glad I can have fun with my friends.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm really I feel myself to be really lucky to be one of the people who can like do my job at home, and I I know a lot of people who've been affected. I mean, my super was affected by this. He actually contracted it. So like it's a thing. And yeah. So I mean, at least we can do something, and like at least we can like we have the opportunity to like fill the void. So I think we're all kind of lucky in that way. Like you and I, and but it's going to be a long time before things are going to be back to normal. But I do feel hopeful that we're gonna pull through.
I
Like
feel hopeful too because I've heard more like good stories out of this than I ever could have imagined. Because it's very dystopian future of this. Like that's sort of the concept, and yet this isn't the apocalyptic film that I thought it was going to be. It's been more people gathering together, well, virtually getting together, doing everything they can to help each other, doing everything they could to reform a sense of normalcy, of community. Um, of reaching out and making sure that we're all emotionally okay. It's been uplifting for sure. As at the same
and
time,
and
it's
honestly,
trying.
and honestly, I think that all of the stuff that we as human beings rely on to cope with, like I lived through 9/11, right?
Hmm.
And I was there. I saw Building 2 go down. Blah blah blah. Right? I was downtown Manhattan, and it was scary, and it was actually really really frightening. And this is kind of like that moment, but at least during that time, like I could I could call my I could go to a friend's house, or I could meet a friend at a bar, and hug people, and say like, hey, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna pull through. It's gonna be fine. And we did pull through, and it was fine in the end. But um, like this is a particularly nasty situation because we can't rely on each other in those kind of super human ways that we're accustomed to during this very difficult time. So
Yeah, yeah,
I think that's the real challenge.
yeah. I'm lucky to have such a big social group around the arcade that I could because I was concerned about those things initially. I'm a physical person. I want to give people hugs and physical greetings and travel around and all of that. It feels like every single one of my life skills at this point is completely detrimental to how life has to be lived right now. But amongst our group, we have a clinical psychologist, so we've had her on every single day. A Killer Queen player as well. So we've had her on every day just to sort of just to chill with us and talk. But like it's been nice to have somebody there who is a mental health professional right when I would absolutely say, like, you know what, at this time in my life I want to have a mental health professional sitting next to me in some facet. So we've been lucky in that way too.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. And it's like all that stuff is really important. I mean, like, and I worry. I mean, my biggest worry is that we're going to come out of this and people are going to be afraid to be next to each other.
Me
And
too.
I think that to me is more frightening than dying. Like I
Yes.
don't, you know what I'm saying? Like I
100%.
don't,
This is who I
want to
am.
live
I
forever.
get people together for a living. Like this is I want to
Well, I
I
mean,
do this because I love it.
I feel the same way. I feel exactly the same way. I mean, we built a business around the idea of like, hey, it's really hard to meet people, and like, and let's try to like get people together and like, like build communities and do all this stuff that. Like that's so important, and like, and I know you feel exactly the same way because you're doing the same thing
Hmm.
in a different kind of way,
Hmm.
right? And like it is important. And I mean, I'm like, so that's what I'm terrified. I'm terrified that we're going to come out of this and like not and be afraid to be next to each other.
I,
And
I, I
I think,
suspect there will be some of that. I think humans are social animals and we will always have to we cannot not be humans. Like we will always need that kind of closeness to people. So we will defeat the COVID-19, and we will definitely see like impacts of this throughout the land. Like I wouldn't be surprised if masks become uh, much more socially acceptable, even years down the line. But
mhm.
you know what? I can live with wearing my stylish mask that I got in Japan, 2 years ago because I thought it looked cool anyway. Um, and still play Killer Queen with people and just like be smart about it. Yeah, we're in a period right now where it's not appropriate to sit next to each other and
Yeah.
and do that. And I totally get that. I do believe we'll get outside of this period, and I think the compelling part of being together, we are human beings. It will never, ever, ever go away. You'll always have your killer app in being with a person. It
Mm.
can't go away.
I mean, one of the 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 horrible things and the great things about being human is that we have very short memory, like on purpose.
Mm.
And otherwise, we would never have second babies or like, like I think that there is something to be said for like um, our ability to forget is is also hopefully going to get us through this time, because
Yes.
it is. You know where I'm going with this. Like it just feels
It's the
like
reason we're not immortal, to be honest with you. It's the reason we have to move on to the next generation. Um, because
it's
yeah,
true.
yeah, the while it's nice to have the whole breadth of human experience in your head at the same time, that's a lot to process. And then the next generation is just fearless. The kids are always all right because they grew up right in this time. In fact, the kids right now are doing better than any of us when it comes to coping, and that's just always going to be the case.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know grown adults who are just like losing it, like
Mm.
just losing it. And I think in general, like everybody I know who has kids, it's difficult because they have to be in and they're fighting with each other. But like in general, they're I think they are dealing with it probably better. than their adult counterparts.
All right, I'm looking for the chat if they have any questions. Lots of talk.
Oh yeah, what's the questions?
Lots of talk, but
Because I can't see it right now because my screen is really small.
right. Why abs?
Why not abs? Abs is my favorite character, so it had to be abs.
There you go. Let's see here. Trying to figure out which one of these questions are in the chat and which ones are for you specifically. Support for masks. Oh, can we get? I got a question. Can I get a Killer Queen licensed mask?
Oh, it's not something we thought about, but I'll run it by the team. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, maybe one that makes me look like my favorite character. I don't know. They're all pretty similar in the face. One.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is the problem.
That's okay. I'll be a Bumblebear, but it has to be. I had to have my choice between blue or gold. It has to. We have to switch it out. Maybe it's reversible. I don't know.
Of course. Well, now you also have the undead option.
Oh
So
yes, of course.
If you want to get a little more morbid.
Let's see. Oh, they're trying to game the system. Nikita, if multiple people submit the same graffiti line, will frequency rendered get bumped up?
I believe so.
There you go. Is Scorpion in the game? Is the Scorpion in the game? Yes.
Yes, it is. By hook or by crook, Scorpion will be in this game.
Can we ride it?
That is the hope.
That's the hope. Excellent.
That is the. We haven't worked out the finer details of how the Scorpion's going to work, but we're all kind of hell bent that you should be able to ride that Scorpion.
All right, Staragator wanted you to sell him on the fight stick or her. I'll give it a whirl. It's a fight stick that is set up with the exact sticks and buttons that you use in the Killer Queen arcade cabinet. So whereas my fight stick right here has I think it has Sumitsu buttons, and it's got like rounded buttons. It doesn't have the exact same buttons that Killer Queen does. So me practicing my tapping techniques is only of so much help, and in fact, limited. I just go to the arcade to practice, and that's sort of been my thing. And we will have it back at some point. But yeah, to actually have like the stick with the buttons, like these are all convex buttons. These are all Japanese style, basically.
Oh, yours is convex.
Yes, all of mine are, right? But Killer Queen is not. So having a stick with the Killer Queen setup to practice with anywhere you go, kind of interesting.
Yeah, we kind of made that decision early on that we were going to go with concave buttons just because it felt more...
That's the American style, for sure.
What's that?
That's the American style, for sure.
It's really more the American style, but then we didn't go with bat tops because they were just so shitty. You know?
Yeah.
But, I mean...
Well, but honestly...
It would have saved us, like, a lot of headaches and maintenance fees, but, you know, whatever. Yeah. Oh, so the other thing about the stick is you can get it configured with either one button, like in Killer Queen, two buttons if you wanted to play Killer Queen Black with it, or just a standard six button fighting stick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there you go. Also, like even the ball top is reminiscent of I don't know. I cannot think of Killer Queen without thinking of Mario Brothers and Joust, right? So those are Williams, and those had ball tops. Well, sorry, the Nintendo one, of course, is a Japanese cabinet, so it had a ball top as well.
It had a smaller ball top, right? It wasn't the standard. It wasn't It had like a slightly different size ball top, I think. Right?
Yeah. Well, Mario Brothers was like weird because it was a two-way joystick, so that was a really odd one.
Oh yeah, that's true too. It was
but definitely not bats from the 90s.
Oh no. I mean, I just don't like bats. I think they're just too stiff. Like they feel like those old Atari 2600 controllers or something. Like they just feel too stiff to me.
Let's see. Anyone else have questions before we let Nikita go? What? Will Subzero be in the game? No, I think you're thinking of the wrong Scorpion.
Uh, I mean, if they're willing to give us a free license, sure, why not?
Right? Make that your graffiti tag, and then you can mention. Yeah, just make it where Subzero. Kickstart it
Yeah,
for that.
exactly.
Will you continue to sell the fight sticks after the Kickstarter?
Well, so far they've been pretty popular on the Kickstarter, so I think it's something that we'll definitely consider.
Will the game be sold as a JAMA kit to convert an existing cab for operators in the United States? An unused cab, sorry.
I don't think so.
Yes, it's
I think we'll probably be using the Bumble board. Um, there may be a Bumble board conversion kit, but I don't think that we would do JAMA just because we don't really do a lot with that technology.
we're also 3 weeks away from the actual creation of the idea of the thing, so I would imagine there's a lot of fluidity to all of this.
Right, but I mean, independent of this process, we have been working on our own IO board, and we're on major revision 2 of it, which that's going into all the Black Emperors. And uh, if this hadn't happened, we would be testing it on Killer Queen right now. So that those are big changes that are on the horizon for our arcade cat.
Uh,
So as far as a conversion kit for the game, for other cabs or whatever, maybe, but it would have to work. I mean, I don't know if we could even do it, but if we did, it would have to be with our IO boards, not just.
I'm not sure. The question is Bumble Bash 5 canceled? Do you
No, no, I don't think Bumble Bash 5 is canceled. I
that's
do think I do think that we were going to announce a Halloween date. I mean, it's all ancient history now, so
mhm.
we were about to announce a Halloween date, and then COVID kind of happened, and it became pretty clear that probably weren't going to be able to hit that hit that date, and you know, just because of everything going on, it was going to be hard for us to line up the sponsors that we were courting for it. I mean, we were taking a different approach to Bumble Bash 5. We're teaming up with. It's a long story, but
Mhm.
basically, the long and short of it is, it's not canceled; it's postponed.
That's good to hear. When as someone who runs major events myself, I can say from my perspective, the hearing about events that are not canceled or postponed, as much as that's devastating for us wanting to go to them, like the ones who aren't announcing anything is because they can't announce that they are not in a position that they can say that they are canceled or postponed, which means that's potentially devastating news for them ever happening again. The way you're taking it, Nikita, is that Bumble Bash will indeed happen. You just don't know what it looks like or when it looks like because, heck, we're all tied into our homes right now. So that's actually, as a Killer Queen player and on the side, someone who runs completely unrelated events, that sounds like the best news I could possibly hear right now, which is Bumble Bash will be back when it's all
Oh yeah,
well.
no, Bumble Bash is definitely gonna. I mean, it's so much work every year, but every year it's really rewarding. And at the like, I mean, it's like a giant family reunion in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I we can't cancel that forever. I mean, that sounds crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have to do it. It's part of our it's part of our whole identity as a company and as a community. So I think but we want to be responsible too, and we don't want to like uh we don't want to put anybody in danger or anything like that. So um so the reasonable course of action is just say we're going to postpone it until we have a better idea of like when it's going to be safe to like to host it.
Yeah, I completely understand. Like I said, as an event, as a person who runs events myself, like that's the best news you could want to hear, because that's the healthy news to hear right now. Hearing the show
Oh
must
yeah.
go on is that means the show has to go on, and it needs to not go on right now for reasons that we all kind of understand, even though it sucks.
Yeah.
We're let's see. I do want to reset. We're talking about your Kickstarter for Abs versus the Blood Queen. It is the newest game from the creators of Killer Queen, Bumblebear, and
Mhm.
you can help the Kickstarter right now. I'm going to post the link in the chat one more time. I have already contributed myself. You guys send me your what message I should put as my graffiti art. But
Yeah.
it's
I mean, we tried to make that graffiti art be like a reasonable price so that like people would do it, and like I think it'll just be like a fun thing for everybody to do.
yeah, sounds groovy to me. I'm confident that you guys will hit your goals because your product has been so good for these years. So I'm confident in you. I know it's nervous for you on the inside, but I've contributed
It's a
myself. I can't wait to see it.
little nerve wracking. Like this morning, I woke up and I was like, it was up for like literally 15 minutes. I was like, or 10 minutes or something. I was like, nobody's backed it yet. Oh my god, it's gonna be a total failure. Blah blah blah, whatever. And it's like, okay, as things started rolling, it it became obvious that it was going to do okay.
Yeah.
So I'm super happy and super appreciative to our community who's like, as always, come out to support us, and just, I mean, I can't say enough good things about our players and our community, and what we stand for. I think is something good.
Well, I want to thank you, Nikita, for creating a game that we all love, and also sticking with it, and for talking to us and being on our dumpy little stream when we can't do anything else. Thank you
Hey
so
man,
much.
hang in there.
Yeah, we'll
Stay safe.
do. And we're gonna
Yeah.
see you next Thursday at 8. Is that right? Or will you be able to make it for match game with us?
I think so.
All
Yeah,
right, awesome.
I hope so.
I
Yeah,
think
that'll
I
be
think you'll be like, as someone who like knows and appreciates the original show. I'm looking forward to hearing Nikita answer these questions, because Danny, he's the writer. He is the writer of Trivia Murder Party. He has some experience in the comedy field and this sort of stuff. Um, so he's making video game and arcade game related puns to toss in with the fill in the blank. So
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not a professional comedian or anything, so I don't know how I'll compare to Charles Nelson Riley, but I'll do my.
Well, that's why there's 6 panelists too. You put in your quips where you got them.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for
Thanks so
joining
much,
us.
Chris. This was really fun, and good luck to you. And stay safe, and everybody, please stay safe.
We'll do. Anywhere else you need
Uh,
us to send people?
no, that's it. I
Okay.
mean, if they feel like checking out the Kickstarter, that would be great. And if they want to support it, even better. And that's about it. And that's it.
All right.
Love you guys.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, Nikita.
Okay. Bye.
We will see him.